Hey, happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to the Wayne Dupree podcast. My name's Jason Robertson. I'll be joined shortly by the host of the show, the host with most, Mr. Wayne Dupree. He just had something to button up on there before he hops on, so Wayne will be with us in a second. Before we get started, I got to give a shout out. Today was a pretty monumentous day. The first person always to say good morning is usually K-Gun Girl. But we had Mark beat her to the punch over on the Rumble. We got Becky. We got Kev. We got Dragonfly. Terry Bauman. And Terry's over on the Rumble. That's fantastic. But we got a ton to go over. So much winning. So much excitement. I hope you're all feeling as excited as I am and ready for the 4th of July. We're going to go into some 4th of July topics today, too, where we're going to talk about freedom and liberty and what it means to be an American. And we're just happy as heck to have you here. Before we get started, though, I want to give a shout out. Streaming on Facebook, just on Wayne's page, though. Facebook got really weird with his accounts. LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Cozy, X. And, I know I shouldn't be biased. I know it shouldn't be like having a favorite kid. I love the Rumble chat. Rumble always has the most activity and the most chat. So that's awesome. Hey, we even got Lisa over. I think first Facebook check-in. Welcome, Lisa. Great to see you. And Dragonfly, very excited for the 4th of July. And Wayne on the Reddit. I don't know. Wayne might be on the Reddit. I haven't seen where he's at. Yeah, YouTube. YouTube's awesome. And just a little funny story about that. Like Wayne's had, so when you're a content creator, you start a channel and you build it up. And then you say something that YouTube doesn't like. And then they give you a warning and then they nuke your channel. So Wayne in his X number of years doing this is on like his 4th YouTube channel where he builds up a decent following and just waiting for the nuke. So if you ever wonder why we got to be careful with some of the things we say, it's because of that. But we're super excited to have you here. We got big new bill, new jobs report, alligator Alcatraz. I'm excited. Deportations. Like so much exciting stuff's going on. And like I say, we're happy to have you all here. Looks like Wayne's hopping into the green room, so he'll be in a sec. Before we get going, too, just one note I want to give, and I'm going to make it again at the end of the show. We live in the greatest country on earth, greatest country in the history of mankind, in my opinion. Don't forget that. Don't let people convince you that America is some evil, awful place. You're going to have these people coming out on 4th of July trying to denigrate this great country. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. And the people that did the Declaration of Independence, fought the war to overthrow the British government and establish self-governance, those people were truly heroes. And this weekend, as you're celebrating freedom and liberty, think about those guys. Think about the Declaration of Independence and think about what it took for a bunch of farmers. And, there were some aristocrats and whatnot in there, but to rise up against the most powerful empire in the history of the world and said, we demand freedom. We demand freedom. We demand liberty. We demand the opportunity to self-govern. And that governance was founded on, being reliant for yourself, providing for yourself and your family. It was designed to give you an equal opportunity, meaning everybody that comes here and everybody that's American, you won't have some artificial ceiling. You can be whatever you want to be. If you want to be a simple laborer, you can do that. If you want to be a business owner, you can do that. And never forget that. It's beautiful. And there's Wayne Dupree. What's up, big man?
What's up, man? What's up?
Not much. We're hopping already. The chats are flying. Everybody promised they're going to give a like, a comment, and a share today. I made sure they all did the pinky swear on them. Like, let's make sure we do the likes, comments, shares. We're in.
Happy 3rd, 4th for everybody. And gonna take out the time most of the show to ask questions and answer questions and talk about the 4th of July because next year, well, it's the 249th birthday for this country. And I was thinking about this last night. It's kind of hard, but this country's only 249 years old.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
And my mom lived 98 years of that. That's weird to think about it like that, you know?
Yeah.
She lived 98 years of 249. That's crazy. That when you put it like that, I mean, her mom lived 96. As a matter of fact, her mom was a kid when her mom's mom, my great grandmother, was alive when Abraham Lincoln was around. And then
that's wild to think about.
That is wild. I mean, there was only 2 generations earlier than it's like my mom's grandmom was alive when Abraham Lincoln was, and the streets of DC was dirt and had horses, crazy stuff. So yeah, it's here. Got some cool facts and stuff. Did y'all know John Adams wanted July 2nd to be celebrated and not July 4th?
Why is that?
Because Congress actually voted for independence on July 2nd, 1776.
Interesting.
A whole lot of the Declaration wasn't signed on July 4th. It was only adopted. Let's see, most delegates signed it in August of 1776. The Liberty Bell wasn't rung on July 4th, 1776. These are rarely mentioned 4th of July facts, my friend. Let's see, the Liberty Bell wasn't rung on July 4th, 1776. The story is a myth. Historians believe it rang on July 8th for the first public reading. How many people live in Chicago? How many people live in Minnesota?
I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
Millions. Why?
Because the U.S. population in 1776 was only 2.5 million.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's 5.8 million.
So half of Minnesota. Good Lord, can you? Wow, half of Minnesota, basically, was the population of the entire United States of America.
Yeah, and if you think at the time, the United States, I mean, it was really just that East Coast, Yeah. I mean, it's weird to think about, like, when the country was founded, Minnesota wasn't even a thing. Just weird.
Yeah. Did you know that they talked about, here's another fact that I don't have with me, but I do know. When they came over here, there were so many trees along the eastern seaboard that a squirrel, I think it was a squirrel. Yeah, a squirrel could ride the trees from, I think it was New York or Pennsylvania all the way down to Georgia.
Right, yeah, it was like the whole country they could cross by trees.
Without ever hitting the ground. That's wow. That's wow. Yeah, that's wow. Yeah, I mean, a lot of our parents used to take us to go see the fireworks and Francis Scott Key and stuff like that, the Star Spangled Banner.
You would go see the fireworks guy?
Not anymore. I used to be. I don't anymore. I listen to, I watch it on TV now. Because I used to go down to the city, Baltimore. Well, when I moved here, went down to the city, and man, that traffic is crazy. And then one year I decided we're going to take the family, because I was working in Virginia at the time. I decided instead of Baltimore, we're going to go to Virginia. We're going to make a day of it, go to the movies, and then get some ice cream, and then go to the fireworks. at a specific place, and it was so. Yeah, I mean, it was like, okay, well, great, this is good. Next year we're just doing it in Baltimore, type of thing. But in spending the time with the family,
Well, Jen and I, it was funny. We had the conversation, because we're empty nesters now, and every now and then we go to battle fireworks. I'm like, okay, can we have the honest conversation about fireworks? Like what do you think, hon? And she's like, and it's weird. We've been together 12 years or whatnot. We haven't really dove in. She's like, I love fireworks. I'm like, I love fireworks too. Like, they're cool. They're fun to watch. Other than that part, every part of the fireworks experience, I hate. It keeps you up late. You have to go sit in some field. Mosquitoes are always horrible. Traffic is always bad. It takes
that
you
traffic.
either get there super early or barely be able to get in. Getting out is impossible. And it's like, okay. So we're both in agreement. We love to see the fireworks, but everything else about fireworks is awful. So we're like, tonight, I don't think we're going to necessarily go brave the mosquitoes to go watch fireworks.
Yeah, man. I mean,
I see people in the chat. They're lining up with us. I have a love-hate relationship. Suicide ruined many things. That's no good.
It was crazy.
Francis loves fireworks. Terry agrees with me. Dragonfly hubby and I have a tradition to set off fireworks on plywood. No rockets. Oh my gosh. Kevin, I avoid fireworks these days, but like the back in the day, mass shootings make clear.
Did you?
Yeah, I guess if you're in a big group.
Did you ever think about it like the best time to watch the fireworks is at the end, because everything leading up to it is like,
right.
Did you see that? No, I didn't see that. What the? It's like, where are they at? And then all of a sudden, somebody's like, man, just light everything. Pop, 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 pop. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Every 4th of July, there's a video where somebody screwed up and they like hit the light all button way too early.
Yep.
It's like, that's what I want. I want to show up. I want somebody to do the 5-minute firework display. Go home. Thanks a lot, everybody. I'll grab my mini donuts on the way out.
My daughter, when we were growing up, the sound used to hurt her ears.
Oh.
And she was very sensitive to that when she was a kid. So, here's an awesome one. For 7 years before we got this house, for 7 years. Well, here's a little known fact that many people don't know. For maybe 95% of my life, every house that I've stayed in has been on the corner.
Okay.
Always on the corner. We've always had the corner house. I don't know how it turned out like that. That's how I mean, this is moving from place to place to place to place on the corner. All right, so say that to say this. For 7 years, on July 3rd, right between the trees, right, like, if you like, you could put a chair on the steps and just sit and look between the two trees. They did fireworks probably a few blocks away. Well, maybe 5 or 6 blocks away, but we could see the fireworks on July 3rd, right? The day before. But it was like our own personal type of thing. It was like, wow. And you sit down, you watch it and stuff. But it was so loud, it would hurt my daughter's ears type of thing. So she would have to watch it from the inside. But I mean, it was like our own personal fireworks for like 7 years.
We'll get that every now and then where one of the neighbors, so in Minnesota, you can get fireworks, but not the good stuff. But if you drive over to Wisconsin, you can get like M80s and all the crazy stuff. Like, they let anything go over there. And so you always get the one neighbor guy who will go over, spend a few $100 in Wisconsin, and then put on a heck of a display. But it's always funny because we've owned dogs like the whole time I've lived here, and dogs hate fireworks. They are just not fireworks fans. Now we just got the little dogs. When we had the big dogs, like they'd get so anxious, they'd be running into things like, what's going on? What's going on? So like if we'd go to fireworks, we'd come home, just see the room tore apart that they were in as they were losing their mind. But yeah. Yeah, who knew? Like our founding fathers would be like, how should we celebrate this? I know. Let's shoot sparkling explosives. Nothing's more American than sparkling explosives.
Well, everybody knows about Francis Scott Key and seeing the bombs and the battle that was going on. So, well, actually, no, I'm sorry. Little known fact: the first July 4th fireworks were launched in Boston and Philadelphia in 1777, while the Revolutionary War was happening. Only one U.S. president, Zachary Taylor, died from July 4th celebrations after eating too much at a party in 1850.
Now that's a heck of a way to go out. If you got to go out, eating.
Give me some more of those hot dogs. You know, America's favorite 4th of July food?
Barbecue, sweet corn.
What type of food?
Well, I don't know. Hot dogs, hamburgers.
There we go.
Yeah.
No, wait. Well, yeah. America's favorite type of food, 4th of July food, is hot dogs, which aren't even American. They originated from German sausages brought by immigrants.
Well, I guess technically everything in America is from an immigrant. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, we came over and conquered the land. So
it says more rarely mentioned facts. Only 6 people signed the Declaration on the 4th of July, 1776. The rest signed it over the next few weeks and months. The original American flag had no official layout. Early designs had stars scattered randomly or in circles. It's funny how Betsy Ross did the stars. I guess back then people looked up in the sky and saw a whole lot of stars at the time. So that's
it's funny when you think about like some little random decision. Whatever guys were sitting there like, we should design a flag. Oh, what should we do with it? You know, and who knows? The thing probably took like 10 minutes to decide. Somebody in the chat will know the real story of how they designed the flag, but it's like 200 and some years later, that is still such a symbol of freedom, liberty, self-reliance. I mean, it like you wonder when they were sewing that, if they think, you know what, in the year 2025, that flag is still going to be important. And that's why I get so mad when people burn it, man. Like, you clowns, get out of here. And we're going to talk about flag.
And they're getting away with it by saying freedom of speech. And action and speech are 2 different things. And I'm sorry that this country has gotten to the point where they have accepted an act, like an act of violence or whatnot, as freedom of speech. I'm sorry that this country over the last 30 years, 35 years has gotten to that point. It's that Pandora's box, that we talked about. Do you know that the temperature is also recorded for the 4th of July, July 4th, 1776? What's the temperature up there in Minnesota right now?
Oh God, today it's in the high 80s.
High 80s?
Yeah.
It is. Wait, I just had it.
Actually, the weather right now in Minnesota is like peak awful Minnesota weather.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's hot and humid. Yeah, 86.
86 is 83. Yeah. Dang, y'all hotter than us. It's 83 here in Maryland. Okay, 83 here in Maryland, 86 in Minnesota, and in Jackson neck of the woods, it was 76 degrees.
Global warming, climate change. we're all gonna die. Climate change.
John Adams refused to celebrate July 4th. he died bitter that July 2nd wasn't the chosen holiday. Oh my gosh.
Some people get
Wow.
so petty over dumb stuff.
Wow. President John Adams on top of that. 4 of the signers of the Declaration of Independence were under 30 years old. The youngest being Edward Rutledge, who was 26. And then they changed it that kids, that you had to be over 35. Well, to be president, I guess. So I guess you can sign.
You adjust it because of life expectancy. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
I mean, back at the time, like as a young, as a 14, 15-year-old, you were doing things that 25-year-olds don't do now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, and so everything was accelerated, and then we've pushed everything back. Oh my God, Strato has the best weather mentioned, 75.9.
Nice.
Although 36% humidity. I don't know if I like that.
The term Independence Day didn't become common until years after the Revolution. Think about that. In 1776, many colonists, not Americans, colonists, didn't support independence. Up to 1/3 were loyalists to Britain. I wonder how that felt. I mean, it's like, they were probably like the ones that, how you said earlier, don't pay attention to the people. I'm paraphrasing. Don't pay attention to the people that talk bad about the 4th of July and such and such. I guess they had them back then too, in 1776.
Well, I think just kind of expanding on that, what's interesting, if you look at how America was settled, so using today's analogy, you had a bunch of middle class people, upper middle class, who had the skill set to be elites or heads of industry or whatever, but the system of governance over in England didn't allow them to do that. There was kind of a ceiling because the aristocracy that was set up. So they came to America kind of to remove the glass ceiling. Like, we want to be able to set up. A lot of it was based on land ownership. And so then the land just passed, generation to generation. As a landowner, you were responsible to create this big farm and whatnot, and then use that to employ people and whatnot. Yeah. And so when they were, if you understand it kind of from a financial and upward mobility perspective, a big part of the Declaration of Independence was like, listen, like, we took some of the most talented people from England and came over here to set up this new country. And like, we just don't want to listen to you anymore. We want to establish our own thing. But there were people who still like that. I can understand.
We love the king.
Well, people like safety, security, people. I mean, at the end of the day, almost every person just wants quiet enjoyment of their life. You know what I mean?
Well, but the reason why I think that they loved, they had to have loved the king, because many in many of the states have the same name of cities that were king's names and stuff like Calvert and, George, Prince George on top of that, So you had some people that were loyal to the other side. Yeah.
Well, and I think, if you look at it, and we like to look at things like in the here and now, but on a grand scale, all throughout time, whatever form of government, whatever form of economy, whatever it was, like, people just wanted a nice quality of life. They wanted a nice place to live. They wanted food. They wanted to be able to raise their family. And it doesn't really matter what the form of government is historically, And in America now, we're so polarized.
Sure,
like oh yeah. Yeah. I think your average citizen, if they're well fed.
Oh, you mean today?
No, I mean, like, back in the day. I mean, a lot of people, like, everybody just wants quiet enjoyment of their life. I think that's kind of a core principle that most people have. This newfound, like, over focus on democracy, even though we're a constitutional republic and we need a democracy everywhere. I mean, you go to citizens in other countries, they just want it to be a nice, safe, clean place where they can raise their family. Like, and that was where the aristocracy came from, is because strong person goes, conquers land, and says, hey, I'm going to make things nice for you to raise your family. And that's why people didn't overthrow them. The only time they'd overthrow those aristocracies is when life got bad for them. You know what I mean? You're taxing us too much, that sort of thing.
But see, I mean, I can see what you're talking about from the voter standpoint. But the way that this country was, well, not set, well, it wasn't set up like that. But then it became like that when they created the federal government. Meaning when they created the centralized Washington, D.C., well, Philadelphia, and then it became Washington, D.C., but it was in Philadelphia. You had your government people, and when
But
that
the government
happened,
wasn't supposed to do anything.
it wasn't supposed to do anything. And then sooner or later, they found that, I guess maybe the people checked out, or maybe it was this, because everybody knows that the people that were in government at the time back then only traveled to DC every few months. They weren't there every day. So, if when the voters knew that their representative was going, hey, can you talk about this? Can you bring this up? Can you talk about this and stuff and that? Okay, fine, great. And then later on, when I guess when we got cars,
Really between World War I and II, when we saw kind of a huge
shift to
transformation.
DC.
Yeah, so DC, for much of our first 100 years of existence, was just where state representatives went to fight. And the biggest point was, how do you get Virginia and its neighbors to get along? Like, DC wasn't designed to regulate much of anything. It wasn't designed to do any of the things that it does now in regulation. Like, Virginia does Virginia, Massachusetts does Massachusetts, Georgia does, everybody did their own thing. And then they just agreed on some core principles. And then right around World War I, II, I think, is where you saw the big shift. Once you started getting all, and I hate to say it, a lot of it really started with like Social Security and all those programs, where you saw just this acceleration to a centralized government. Honestly, if the signers of the Declaration of Independence saw our government today, they would be declaring independence again. They'd be like, no, this isn't what we signed up for, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all can agree that the people that signed the Declaration of Independence, if they saw what the government was today, and they had the ability, they would try every one of them for treason.
Yeah, they'd be like,
every one of them.
Yeah, if you just time transport them, George Washington would be sitting there going, are you guys retarded? Like, seriously, do you understand what we did to make to overthrow? Like, this is way worse than what we overthrew. Like, we didn't want any of this, We didn't want, like, you guys are arguing over how much money you're going to take from one group of people and give to another. Are you insane? Like, the government's paying your retirement plans. What?
Exactly.
Like,
oh my God.
None of this is supposed to. None of this is real.
Yep. Exactly. They sure would. I mean, and back then, treason was firing squad.
Right.
Quick, take them out. 7 by 7.
And there was a reason too why you didn't have as much crime, because frankly, if you broke the law, you actually got punished, and not only punished, like, and you were. I mean, property was treated like one of, I mean, this is this conservative.
You stole my pig. Really?
Yeah, there was this conservative concept that you have the ability to pursue your property.
Oh, yeah.
And your property is important. Yep. Like, you work hard to get that property. That property provides for your family. That property you're going to give your kids someday to give them a leg up on the world. Yeah, like property crimes. Oh yeah, no. In early America, they did not. I mean, go steal another man's cattle, and they will string you up.
let's see, in 1791, and I know some of y'all might be going to parades tomorrow, and seeing a parade, but the first recorded 4th of July parade was held in Bristol, Rhode Island, a tradition still going strong. I live in Maryland, but I have traveled up and down all the way to Maine, as a matter of fact. Maine is where we came in at when we came back from Saudi. But when you go to the northeastern cities, the big cities on top of that, there's an old hint of the old country still around.
Mm-hmm.
Like of like
A
I said,
lot of small town America is like that.
yeah, but
on the East Coast, especially.
Yeah, on the East Coast, up and down the Northeast, you still see old courthouses, old governor's houses, and this and that. You still see old things to remind you of, again, 249 years. That's not that long. To tell you the truth, it's not that long. Like I said, my mom lived 98 of that. So, in 1776. Oh, wait, New York. What did I say? I have one up here about New York. Fireworks. Benjamin Franklin wanted a turkey, not the bald eagle, as a national bird.
You're right.
Let's see.
Bald eagles aren't always the best creatures, truth be told. They look really cool.
there was
important to the early settlers.
There was a big riot. I don't know, maybe there might be a riot tomorrow. Who knows? Wait, there's supposed to be some marching tomorrow too, I think. I thought I read that. But
yeah, they were talking about like No King's Day or whatever they're calling it now. They actually ran into a branding problem because they were trying to make it an international movement, and some of the countries they were doing it in like kings. So as they were trying to expand globally, they're like, we like our king. Can't we say like no whatever? And so they're changing it. But yeah, I suspect there's always something that happens on 4th of July.
Yeah, in 1854 in New York City, between anti-immigrant know-nothings and Irish Catholics, there was a riot. Let's see. I could have swore there was New York kind of abstained though. I was reading New York was scared of the British. And okay.
They have right to be afraid. I mean,
yeah.
Like the British Empire, when we declared independence, was pretty powerful. Like they had one of the most powerful militaries ever, one of the most powerful navies. They had, I mean, it was the largest economy economically, and that's why they were doing all the colonizing, is because they had such a class of highly skilled and highly competent people. And there just wasn't enough room for them to expand. So it's like, well, let's go here. Let's set up civilization. And then all the middle managers basically could become senior managers of their new space. So
in 1776, not all colonies supported independence. Of all states, New York abstained from voting on July 2nd, fearing British retaliation. So, Thomas Jefferson designed his own tombstone inscription highlighting the Declaration of Independence, but he omitted his presidency entirely. The White House didn't host a July 4th celebration until 1801 under President Thomas Jefferson. The Declaration inspired other revolutions, including the French and Latin America. A lot of rarely talked 4th of July facts. President, if y'all have never seen the miniseries John Adams, I suggest you check it out. But there's one thing that you will know in there is that Thomas Jefferson and John Adams weren't friends when they died. They had a bitter falling out after their presidencies, and only reconciled in letters later in life. As a matter of fact, they died on the same day, I think, July 4th. July 4th. The phrase United States was only plural. People said the United States are after the Civil War. The original celebrations often include public readings of the Declaration, followed by public hangings of King George III effigies. Americans eat over 150 million hot dogs on July 4th, enough to stretch from DC to LA more than 5 times. Hot dogs.
It's a lot of hot dogs.
That's a lot of hot dogs. Betsy Ross's role in creating the American flag, we were talking about that earlier, wasn't recorded until nearly 100 years later and is still debated by historians. The American colonies had no navy when independence was declared, only privateer and makeshift. That's another thing I wanted to bring up too. That's another thing missing from today, from what they had in 1776. Families, mostly men, sorry ladies, go fix a turkey pot pie. They sacrificed more back then than they do now. Americans don't sacrifice anything. They don't sacrifice. They don't think about. When I say they, I'm talking about the federal government, U.S. government, state governments, local governments. They don't sacrifice. Well, and also voters. Voters don't sacrifice anymore. Voters want what's here now. I want an instant. I want instant gratification. I want instant satisfaction. I want it now. And they don't think about the kids later on. That's why when Jason brings up this debt clock and stuff, we shake our head every time that we look at $36 trillion in debt. We shake our head. Oh, man, I can't believe this and stuff. Our kids. And then we go on about something else. No, nothing more about sacrificing. Like back then, man, those people left their families to go fight. How many people were leaving? And man, listen, I know you might have it hard at home and you might have some arguments and you might want to leave home. But how many men leave home to go fight? You know, Jason? I mean,
well, and here's
I might do it in Minnesota, but you know.
Well, here's what's interesting too. Take the military service out of it, and not denigrating the military service or whatnot. But if you just look at the standard of life, if you were a man, your goal was, I want to be a strong person. I want to provide. I want to be the best version of myself so I can get the best wife I can. I'm going to make the sacrifices to build my future, whatever that was, my farm, I want to be a blacksmith. I want to be whatever. You were not afraid to put in that work to build your thing, your future that was going to be passed down for generations. Now you think about it, we're actually 250 years later having a discussion like, who's going to pick the crops if it's not the third world workers? Yeah. And I mean, you think about
instead
that.
of just saying, come on, man. Come on, Jason.
Let's go pick the crops.
Yeah, let's go get these crops.
Let's go figure out the best way to pick the crops. Let's get Americans to pick the crops. Because obviously it's better to have your own citizens doing that sort of thing. Like, who's going to do the roofing? Well, let's teach Americans. Then you know what? Be the industrious roofing guy who says, you know what? I'm going to go learn this, get good at it. Then I'm going to start my own roofing company. Yeah. Same landscaping or any of those labors that we think we need third world immigrants for. If you look at how soft we've become, and we all know people in our lives that are like, I've got a family member that's unemployed right now because all these jobs are so hard, nobody will hire me. It's like, I think about the sacrifices I made. Like, how many hours have you worked, Wayne, since you've been self-employed, building your own company, building your own business to create a good life for you and your family? And then there's these people screaming like, I can't believe you're cutting off Medicaid. Oh my God, you're cutting back on SNAP. And everybody should work to be prosperous. And at no point was a government ever designed to fill that void you should be filling of, like one of the things going around right now is there's a quote from Deuteronomy about like, be nice to immigrants. And it's so taken out of context because at no point was Jesus saying like treat him like the government should give immigrants benefits and just let them in your country. If you read Deuteronomy, it talks about if people come in and are going to live by the laws of Israel and be good neighbors and all those things. But now we're trying to use that to say, yeah, let in a third world immigrant, put them in Section 8 and give us a free SNAP card. Like that was never.
Are they really bringing in Deuteronomy?
Yeah, you haven't seen that?
No.
Yeah, I forget the verse, like 34.
But if they are, that's ludicrous nuts.
Yeah, Deuteronomy is
Old Testament.
About like have a strong nation state. Like, yeah, but they're literally
if they really want to go with the Old Testament, and I really don't think they really want to do that, but if they really want to go to the Old Testament, stoning will come back. All right. I mean, you cheat on your wife. And there's some real archaic type stuff in the Old Testament. If y'all really want to do that,
yeah, I'm down. I mean, if you want to stone somebody for adultery, like I'd be okay with that. There'd be a lot less cheating. That's all I'm going to say.
And stealing too.
Right.
Dealing too. I mean, the preachers that I grew up with used to say, we don't live under that law anymore. When Jesus came, we were saved by grace. So now we live under grace, not that law. We live under do unto others as you have them do unto you. That's really what you should be doing. But even that's thrown out now because people are,
yeah, just hop on. Terry had a comment too. Jay, I was a very good worker. Even business owners needs worker. Everybody can't own a business and not rely on workers. To clarify that point, and this is actually kind of an interesting thing to think about. Not everybody is designed to be a business owner. Not everybody's designed to be a manager. Not everybody's designed to be a factory worker. Some people can do that. Like my ADD would kick in and I could never do that, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. And there needs to be a positive relationship between those in charge and the worker bees, where those in charge are providing a good standard of living for the worker bees. Like no matter what your governance system is, that's what it's designed to do. And that's why I'm so passionate about immigration, because when you're replacing American worker bees with foreign worker bees who don't want to help your country, like it's just no good. Long term, it's going to fail.
The U.S. didn't have a national flag until 1777, a full year after declaring independence. Something that most didn't know about. The song Yankee Doodle was originally written by British soldiers to mock colonial troops. Yep. But Americans made it a patriotic anthem. I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy, a Yankee Doodle till I die. Real life Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. Kind of like that. So
that was funny, right? Until they kicked their ass. I don't know. Have you seen that AI video too of the British guys during the Civil War? Somebody made it on one of the AIs, like a 2-minute video, and it shows like I should find it. It shows this like British general like heading in, like we're gonna go rough up the Americans, and then it's kind of clips throughout the war, like holy cow, these guys are kicking our tails. It was pretty funny.
And here's another thing too. Before the country started fighting back against the British, they used to fight by the numbers. They used to fight by rules, and when they got over here, things changed so much that they didn't know how to battle. They didn't know how to fight. They didn't know how to respond to that type of free-for-all, willy-nilly, ghost-like type stuff. And that's why they got their butts whipped, because they didn't know how to respond.
Shout out to the Native Americans, because Native Americans were really good at warfare, and they were doing a number on our early ancestors, and a lot of those same principles were applied during the Revolutionary War.
Yep, exactly. More 4th of July facts that you rarely ever hear. The Declaration was written to justify rebellion internationally, especially to France and Spain, not just to King George.
Yeah, they were counting on France and Spain to support them.
Yep. There's another one too. The phrase "all men are created equal" was extremely controversial in the time when slavery and class divisions were the norm. Thomas Jefferson blamed the king for the slave trade in an early draft of the Declaration, but that part was cut out to appease Southern delegates. Never knew that.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of a fascinating, if you ever want a rabbit hole to go down, the whole discussion of slavery during the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, because there were many, largely, I hate to say it, in today's worldview, largely conservatives that were actually against slavery. Slavery was the norm, though, not just in America. I mean, every nation on the planet had slavery, and slaves actually originated in the Slavic countries. So the word slave comes from Slavs, because Slavs were kind of the first commonly traded slaves. And there was a lot of discussion, and some people in both the Declaration and the Constitution wanted to build in something that said, we want to get away from slavery. Ironically, the argument was, if we get rid of slaves, who's going to pick the crops?
Yeah. Here's one. Some Native American tribes sided with the British during the Revolution, believing it would help them protect their lands from colonists.
Yeah, I mean, we came in and conquered the natives. So
the first states to abolish slavery post-independence were in the North, but often through slow, gradual processes. The official national motto, "In God We Trust," wasn't adopted until the Cold War, not during the Revolution. Did you hear about the money thing, that "In God We Trust" wasn't on the money?
Yeah, not originally.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, they part of fighting communism is religion, which is why one of the first things when communists go to destroy a country, they want to destroy the nuclear family and religion. So when the Cold War started heating up, you saw a lot of government stuff have the word God kind of baked into them, because that was kind of that we want to fight back against the destruction of God.
How many times do you think that he signed the Declaration of Independence?
I think it was a couple.
Okay, because in 1989, an original copy of the Declaration was found at a flea market and later sold for $2.4 million.
I can believe that. I mean, they probably had multiple copies of it. I mean,
do you think they signed it for everybody that was there?
Yeah, probably.
Since they didn't have a copy. Well, no, they had a copy here. Okay, so do you think that the Declaration, because the Declaration of Independence was on one page, right?
Yes.
Okay, so because they had a printing press, do you think they just went each and signed it?
Yeah, probably something like that. They wrote a couple, or they printed some off and did it. I mean, back then, if you think about it historically, like data transfer, which we all think of in a digital age, didn't exist. I mean, go way back, look at the Library of Alexandria when that was burned down. like how much human history was lost in that one act.
Yeah. This is I appreciate all of y'all tuning in to today. I'm putting
Wade's
these
having fun.
I'm putting these facts on social media, but I appreciate y'all tuning in to listen to these facts. Did you know that Congress didn't make July 4th a paid holiday until 1938, 162 years later, after the Declaration of Independence after independence was declared?
Yeah,
So,
I'd have to go back and look what the first paid holiday was, but there was not a lot of paid holidays.
yeah.
I mean, the world was different back then, though. Like people took weekends and that kind of thing.
Some cities banned 4th of July parades in the 1800s due to fears of violence between rival political factions or ethnic groups. So, again, there's always been something happening on the 4th of July. Believe me, everything when it's hot, a whole lot of people get crazy. The Declaration was published in German within 2 weeks of July 4th, 1776, for Pennsylvania's large German-speaking population. Did not know that. That's
how information got transmitted. You'd have to print a copy in all the languages, because this is going to be weird, right? In these other countries, they speak their language, and if you go to them, you're expected to speak their language. Weird.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Thomas Jefferson used over 80 drafts and sources when writing the Declaration. Man, he was smart as heck. I mean, honestly, all of them were smart as heck, because the way that they wrote the Constitution and the way that they wrote the way they just wrote things back then was just smart. I mean, maybe it's the food that we eat today that's making us dumb as hell. But I mean, what they eat, what they ate, all the things that they did back then. We talk about certain things that still stand today. You got to be smart to think, to work in that type of stuff that lasts over centuries, and you know what I'm saying?
Well, you used to build things to last centuries.
Exactly.
It's that quote I always misquote, but it's like you planted trees that whose shade you would never see. And that was the concept. Like theoretically, Wayne would be building his business right now with the eye on his unborn grandchild inheriting his house and inheriting his business. Mm-hmm. And that was the way of life 100, 200 years ago, and for thousands of years before that. Now and we talked about it, like when Wayne lost his mom, like she gave him nothing. I mean, I don't mean that in a negative standpoint, but it's not like, here's your inheritance, here's our estate, here's that. It's now it all goes to the government, and you've lost that. How do we make something that's going to hold up for 100 years, 200 years from now?
The United States of America has more than 30 towns named Liberty and over a dozen named Independence. Wow. Thomas Jefferson died heavily in debt, and most of his Monticello estate had to be sold shortly after his passing on July 4th, 1826. Younger colonists were more supportive of independence. Many older elites were loyal to Britain for stability and trade. They're probably afraid, man. They're probably afraid. King George is coming. I know he is. Wait. No, wait. Hark.
Hark.
Who goes there? Slaves in some areas were told independence were only for white colonists, and many weren't even aware of the Declaration for years. Didn't know that either.
Didn't get a lot of news on the plantation.
Yeah. In some Native American communities, July 4th is viewed as a reminder of land loss and broken treaties, not celebration. John Adams predicted. John Adams was really pissed off about July 2nd. John Adams predicted fireworks and celebrations would happen for generations, but mistakenly believed it would be on July 2nd. The U.S. Army often reenacts historical battles on July 4th at national parks to teach history to visitors. Abolitionists, suffragists, and civil rights leaders have often used July 4th as a platform to highlight America's unfinished promises. So you'll probably see, we really don't talk about them too much. Al Sharpton doing some stuff. Many signers of the Declaration were targeted by the British. Some of them had their homes burned or families imprisoned. Think about that. Wow.
Well, they were overthrowing a government, so.
Wow. But guess what? They knew it was probably an option that was going to happen, and they still did it.
Oh, they thought it was likely, as a matter of fact.
Huh?
They thought it was likely. I mean, if you go back and read some of that stuff, they're like, we're not going to throw out this Declaration of Independence and British isn't going to kill us, especially those of us signing it. Because there was actually a handful of people that didn't want their name on the documents because they're like, I don't like, I'll support you, but I don't want Britain to come after
me. Several founding fathers considered returning to the British Empire in the early years when war prospects looked bleak.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and actually, I got to fact check Kev quick. He says John Adams was a panicking. I think John Adams kind of was the first Thomas Massey, where like he makes good points, but then he just gets stuck on stupid stuff. Like if you go back and look at John Adams, it's like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, but then he would just get hung up on something dumb and it would completely derail what he was trying to do. Like who gets that worried if it's the second or the fourth? Like nobody cares. You know what I mean?
John Hancock. Why is he known? Was his signature the biggest of everybody? Is that why?
Yeah. John Hancock.
Yeah. He was
That's
technically
why they say John Hancock. Put your John Hancock on here.
Yeah. Yeah. Put your he was technically a smuggler. The reason he was so hated by the British and enthusiastic about independence. Let's see. The bell is commonly mistaken as the Liberty Bell, was just called the State House Bell during the Revolution. The British didn't take the Declaration seriously at first. Some viewed it as mere propaganda or rebel noise. It's like, did you hear they talking about the Declaration of Independence? Oh man, it ain't nothing. Pass me that mutton over here. Mutton.
Wayne's grilling mutton tomorrow.
That's good. Yeah. Let's see. Let me give you just a few more, and then we're gonna roll out of here. Independence Day wasn't a big deal in the South for decades. Many Southern states emphasized local traditions or Confederate memorials instead. Yeah, everybody's not on it, and guess what? It's you're not gonna get everybody that's gonna be happy about it,
Well, the Southern states, the United States didn't exist. Even for many decades, the United States was a partnership that all the states belonged to. State pride was a huge thing. Like your state's managed itself, your state took pride in itself, and then kind of like Minnesota will make fun of Wisconsin's or whatever, but that was like really it. Like they had many folks back then identified more as a New Yorker or a Virginian or a Georgian than they did an American. So it was like Virginian first, American second.
Mm. Some members of Congress didn't support independence but signed the Declaration anyway, fearing public backlash.
Just like the big beautiful bill.
Hey, history repeats itself. George Washington was not in Philadelphia when the Declaration was adopted. He was in New York preparing for a British attack. The phrase life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness has no legal weight, but it has profoundly shaped American values. And a couple more. The only surviving signer with descendants still involved in politics is John Adams, whose family includes 2 presidents. John Quincy.
Fun fact too, when you're talking about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness,
Mhm.
The original text when they were writing it, and this kind of fun fact about slavery, was life, liberty, and property. That was
Mhm.
what they were originally going to write into the Declaration of Independence. Um, the reason they changed it to pursuit of happiness is because many of the signers of the Declaration of Independence thought that slaves would be counted as property, and they didn't want to enshrine in the Declaration of Independence that slavery was okay. So they actually changed, because they're very big on property rights, like your property's your stuff. But they didn't want slaves to be viewed as part of that. So, especially for the non slave contingent, changing life, liberty, and property to pursuit of happiness was designed so that someday when they got rid of slavery, it would be easier. Fun fact.
Here's another fun fact for many early Independence Day celebrations include public drunkenness, which led some churches to condemn the holiday as immoral.
I can see that.
It's like, hey, no, we're not celebrating it. No. Um, yeah. So yeah. So I appreciate everybody. The fun facts for 4th of July. Jason, what are you cooking before we roll out?
I got to say, the wife and I are going to have a glorious 4th of July. We're actually tomorrow not cooking much. It's just the 2 of us. Friday, Saturday, no grandbaby. We don't have anything planned. And so we're going to go to one of our favorite breakfast places, Sparky's in Anoka. We're going to have an omelet and a pancake as big as your head. And then we're going to get that out of the way early. And then we're going to relax in our chairs reading books on Saturday. So, and then that night, I think she's got something healthy like Caesar salad or something planned.
What?
So, yeah. Well, yeah, we're going to, I can't tell you how bad breakfast is going to be for us. It's going to be butter. It's going to be carbohydrates we shouldn't have. We're going to have syrup on it. It's going to be awful. And it's going to be a 2-meal day because like this breakfast is so ridiculous that it becomes a 2-meal day. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing. And then we'll probably fire up the grill for something, but Jen's on the menu. So my wife does a menu for like the next 2 weeks. We have this steak fajita thing lined up, and like, man, she cooks that so good.
Well, as for me, as we wrap up, let's remember the 4th of July isn't just about fireworks or cookouts, even though we're going to have fun with that. It's a reminder of the boldness it took to declare freedom and the responsibility that you and I carry to protect that responsibility. Whether you're spending tomorrow with your family, honoring those who sacrificed, or just enjoying the moment, just enjoying a moment of peace in a free nation, take a second to reflect on what it means to be an American. And from all of us here, me, Jason, and I, thank you for joining us. Stay safe, stay strong, and never stop standing for truth, liberty, and the Constitution, and especially the Declaration of Independence. Until next, and Jason, let me give you last thoughts.
My final thought is, folks, thanks for tuning in. Been a great year so far. We love having you. Give us a like, give us a comment, give us a share. Really helps the show. We appreciate that. For 4th of July, like I kind of said at this top, like we live in the best country in the history of mankind. We live in the best country in the world, in my humble opinion. Every single person in America is blessed to be living in America, standard of living, for everything negative, all the things we fight for. Like, this is the best country going, folks. And understand too the individual sacrifice everybody made to make that a thing. Like, all the Americans that came before us, there was no reliance on this big government to do things, or, oh my God, people are going to die if we don't. No, no, no. Everybody understood it's my personal individual responsibility to make the world a better place. So take the opportunity this 4th of July to honor the sacrifice of our forefathers by saying, how can I make the world a better place? What can I do to make things better in America? And then pass that on to future generations. Like, they shouldn't be outsourcing that goodness to the government. Like, we should all be doing it each and every day in each of our lives. But we appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah. All right. As we leave, God bless you and God bless the United States of America. Y'all take care of yourself. Be safe.